Did you know that University of Scranton did a research and they discovered that 92% of Americans who set their goals, they never achieve them, 92%, which means only 8% do? Welcome to Achieve. I am your host, Wanda Martin, and I'm here to give you some good practical goal setting strategies to help you to become a part of that, you got it, that 8%. Now, in our last episode, you guys remember I talked about mother, daughters, and goals. Well, in this episode, I am so excited because I'm going to be talking about mothers, boys, sons, men's, and goals. And so just to get involved in this conversation, I have a special guest with me. As a matter of fact, she is an amazing friend of mine. Her name is Dr. Zanthia Reddish, and she is crushing her goals along with her sons. As a matter of fact, one of her sons plays for the NBA. The New York Knicks, and so I'm super excited to have Zanthia on my show today. So can y'all please help me to welcome to my show Dr. Zanthia Reddish. Welcome, Zanthia.
Thank you.
How are you?
I am well. Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you on this show today.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. Okay, so can you please tell us, Doctor? Can I call you Doctor?
Yes. I worked really hard to get that title.
That's right. Okay, so you owning it.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I think you're the ball mom doctor.
I am.
The ball mom doctor. I love
the
that.
Ball mom doc. Doc for short. We make
doc.
It easy.
Okay,
yes.
So the ball mom doc.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so can you please tell us about yourself?
Sure. So I am, as you said, Dr. Zanthia Reddish. I call myself the ball mom doc because that is like a lot of the titles that I hold, okay. A lot of the roles that I actually take part in. So that comes from my background as an educator. I've been in education for well over 20 years, and also I'm a mom.
Okay.
Like, that's my favorite title. I'm a mom.
That's the best title.
I worked really hard for the doctor title too, but I don't know if anything's harder than being a mom.
That's true.
So that's one of the titles that I'm proud of as well. So I've been married for almost 24 years to my husband, Bob, and we have two amazing sons.
Okay.
Cameron, who is 22, and Aaron, who is 20, who is a sophomore in college, and as you mentioned, Cameron plays for the New York Knicks. So, yeah.
Okay, now I believe your son Aaron, he plays in New York as well.
He does. Okay, he does. He goes to the University at Albany, SUNY University at Albany, and he's also playing basketball and majoring in communications and figuring out this college life. So I just took him back to school past weekend, and we're just excited for him to continue on his path.
Oh, yeah. He's right behind Cameron.
He is right behind him. He is doing his thing, charting his own course.
I love it. See, and that's why I have you on my show today, because I want to talk about mother, sons, and goals. And so knowing you personally, I know you've been crushing your goals, and, you know, just your family. I've been watching you all and following you all, how you all have been crushing your goals as well with your sons. And so let's just dive on into this conversation. Can we do that?
Why not?
So my first question to you, how did you go about goal setting with your family? How did you all get involved with goal setting when it came to your family?
Well, you know, I've always been a really driven person, and I'm about achieving things. I like to accomplish goals. I like to make lists and check things off. So I did kind of the same thing with my family. Just as Bob and I, as we planned on having children, once we had them, just kind of figuring out, okay, this is what they're interested in, this is what they're good at. And it happened that they were born into this a little bit because Bob has played ball forever, and so when our children were very young, he was still playing pretty actively. So he spent a lot of time at the basketball court, which meant I spent a lot of time at the basketball court when I was pregnant with the boys, and then also when I had them. So once we had them and figured out that that was something they were interested in, we began to set goals in terms of what they would do around sports. And even just around the house, like what we would have them do as young children and things like that. So we were really, I mean, probably more so than maybe some other parents, we were really intentional about it, just because of our own upbringing. We had decided there were certain things that we loved about our upbringing and other things that we wanted to do differently with our own children. And so we talked about those things. So it came around sports and just around life in general.
Okay, so is that how your sons got into basketball? From hubby?
Oh, for sure. They didn't get it from me. They definitely didn't get it from me. I didn't play basketball, so they got it from him. Like I said, it was just our lives. It literally has always been what we do, where we've been. I can remember when my guys were, little, months old, in the gym. I remember specifically one time, Cameron was he was only probably 3 months old. I don't even know if you can, the babies can move their head. He was able to move his head, and his little head was following the action. Now, I don't know if he could tell where his dad was, but his little head was going from one end to the other, and I said, wow, my baby is really into this basketball. So it's just always been a part of our lives. We're gym rats. We call them because we're always in the gym.
You're always in the gym. Being a basketball mom also myself, so I know how that is.
You know how it is. It's ball is life.
So with that being said, what are some practical things that you guys did, you and your husband do, to get behind your sons as they pursued their goals with basketball? Can you share some practical things that you guys did?
Well, first of all, you have to talk about it. You have to have conversations. You have to establish goals, because we could be working towards something, but if we don't actually articulate that, we could be going in different directions. We could be, not on the same page. So just having conversation, with the kids in particular, what do you want to do? I think so many times we just assume we know because we're the parents, or they gravitate towards something, so we think that this is it.
That's true.
And in particular, I remember with Cameron, it was just a given because that's literally where we were all the time. At that time, Bob was really active playing, so he was playing in different leagues, so we were in the gym multiple times a week. But with Aaron, when Aaron came along, Aaron and Cameron are 2 years and 9 months apart. And so Cameron was quite the toddler by the time Aaron came along. I don't know if we did as much talking about Aaron as much as Cameron. Aaron kind of just went with the flow. We just assumed that this is what he wanted to do. And in hindsight, we probably could have and should have asked him.
Had the conversation.
Had the conversation, because we actually did have it with Cameron once we started to see that he was really talented, really early. So we just assumed that Aaron was as well, and those are the kinds of goals we set for him. But in hindsight, I think we could have had more conversation.
Okay, so you said one practical thing was to have conversation.
To have the conversation.
Could you add another? Because I know that there are people that are watching, mothers that are watching who have sons, want to play basketball in some type of sport, but they want to be able to get behind their son. So having conversation, I think that is so important, because like you said, sometimes as mothers, we tend to think we know what our child or what our children wants to do, but we need to definitely have that conversation to support, really, is that what they want to do or not. So what is another practical thing that you guys did to support them as they pursue their goals?
Well, so I'm an educator, as I mentioned. So pretty much everything we planned everything. We're very intentional, and I think that's a really important point for parents, is to be intentional and not just sometimes things go how you want them to go, but life is what you make it, not just what happens to you. So you can get out in front. So in addition to asking those questions and establishing those goals, we actually took the time to put them down on paper and work toward them, check them off, and celebrate the successes as we were doing them. Because I think you can get lost in things. I am a person who's really driven by achievement myself. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's just who I am. It's how I'm wired. Not everyone is wired that way.
Absolutely.
I feel really great when I check something off my list. So I tried to instill that in my boys, hey, look, we accomplished this. So we would have things on the refrigerator, little magnets, with the actual goal, written down. And then when we got there, we're checking it off and we're celebrating it. Good job. I remember even as much as potty training. When they were young, because that was a big deal now. I remember how we would celebrate. It was the goal. You were going to go, first you were going to go pee-pee, then you were going to go poop-poop on the potty. And the celebrations that we had around that, we literally sitting around, have it on our refrigerator, talk about it. Hey, this is what we're going to do. Can you do that? I think you can. Okay. And then we would go, and I remember specifically Teletubbies. Remember Teletubbies?
I remember
do people? Does that even? I don't even know if it was a great show, but my children enjoyed the show. And they would get to watch, and we would celebrate and all kinds of cheering, things like that. So celebrating those successes, because I think life is stressful. You know, we get so caught up in doing things, but to celebrate the small things is, I think, important to helping them make those big goals along the way.
Okay, so what I heard you say, which was really good. So number one of the things that you guys did, you all had conversation with your sons, so that's important. But then I also heard you say write them down.
Yes.
And now I'm really notorious about telling people when it comes to your goals, you have to write them down. Because statistics have said that you're 42% more likely to achieve your goals when you write them down. And so you're halfway there just by writing them down. But then also I heard you talk about, it sounds like being accountable.
Yes.
Being accountable, you know, you guys were accountable, make sure that they did what they were supposed to do, when they were supposed to do it. And so those, would you say that those keys are really important?
Really important.
As mothers to get behind their...
Really important, being accountable and being intentional about working toward them.
Okay.
Working toward them, because, you know, it's easy to get off track.
Yeah, and then celebrating the wins. You talk about, and that is so important, celebrating the wins. I know we're about to take a quick commercial break, but real quick, Dr. Zanthia, could you tell us, you being an NBA mom yourself, did you have goals that you had to sacrifice for your sons in order for them to achieve their goals?
Absolutely. I don't think as parents we go into this life without considering what our children's goals are, but we have to also have our own. So I did have to put some things aside. I actually had to speed up some timelines for myself for some goals when I was pursuing my doctorate and things like that.
Sure.
I knew my children were also pursuing their goals in terms of their sports, but I wanted to be there. So I had to do things to kind of speed things up, and you just do what you have to do.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. But absolutely, I think I gave up some things along the way. And even now, our entire family was affected by the transition into the NBA, albeit good. It is a transition for the entire family. So that shifted a lot of things.
Okay, well, you know, we're going to find out more about what shifted and how you guys were able to maintain your goals as a family with the transition as soon as we come back from this commercial. So we'll be right back.
Aloha! Joe Silva here with Kukua Technologies. I'm excited to see you on Tuesdays on Morning Coffee for our tech tips.
Let's face it, lawyers get a bad rap. I'm Erin Brucey, host of Legal Breakdown, where we dissect legal topics for the everyday viewer, with a mix of interesting guests to talk about current events and hot legal topics. Let's work together to make the law accessible and relevant to everyone. Catch us every week on RVN Television.
A stroke can be easy to detect. A loved one can't speak, perhaps they can't move. But there's another sign of a stroke that many of us can't see. It's called spatial neglect, and it can occur during or after a stroke, causing distorted visual movements. Fortunately, there's a solution by using optical prism technology during rehabilitation. If you or a loved one have experienced a stroke, ask your doctor about spatial neglect. Spatial neglect. See the whole picture at KesslerFoundation.org.
Are you
Welcome back to Achieve. I'm your host, Wanda Martin, and today's episode is about mother, sons, and goals. And I have an amazing mother here on the show with me, Dr. Zanthia Reddish. And so we've been talking, having this conversation about mother, sons, and goals, and so we're going to dive right back into this conversation. And so before we took our break, you talked about the transition that you and your entire family had to make when your son went into the NBA. So could you share more about that? And how did that impact your family, your goals, and did y'all stick with your goals?
Yes.
Okay.
So we were fortunate enough, one of the goals that Cameron set for himself was to make it to the NBA.
Wow.
And my younger son has similar aspirations, and he's
Okay.
on his way as well.
Absolutely.
So he was blessed enough to have that opportunity in 2019. We lived in Pennsylvania, which is, where we know each other from.
Yes.
And in 2019, he was drafted into the NBA, and he was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks. And so we decided as a family that we would transition and go with him. Cameron really thought like he could be fine on his own. And I thought that he could be fine on his own as well.
Okay.
However, it was a family decision just based on everything that we had gone through as our children were separated when Cameron was in college and things like
Okay.
that. It seemed like the better plan for the entire family for Cameron and Aaron to be close to each other.
Okay.
And I don't know at that time, Cameron, if he knew how much it would benefit us having us nearby, because at that time you just don't know. We had no idea what we were in for. So it's quite the transition. We moved our entire family to Atlanta. I left my job that I had been in for almost 20 years. Aaron had to switch schools again for high school. It was just a lot. And then we were moving into a new city, and we were moving into a new space around professional sports. And we started a new business. Everything that could be new was like happening
And
at
there were
one
big
time.
transitions.
They were big transitions. And so just getting acclimated into a new city and into a new role as an NBA mom and an NBA player, as NBA family, it is an adjustment. And I do believe all of us sacrificed a good deal.
absolutely.
I think the person who gave up the most, honestly, was probably Aaron, because he had
youngest.
the youngest, because he was going to be a junior in high school, so he was leaving all of his friends and everything behind, and we're going into a new setting, and there was a lot of focus on Cameron at that time and making that transition. So trying to make sure as parents, making sure that we were balancing all of that and keeping all of the both boys a priority, it was a real challenge, but I definitely think it was a sacrifice for all of us. Bob left his job. We were really focusing on the business, but we were also learning the business of professional sports as well.
Okay. Now you talked about the business, and I know that you and your husband, your entire family, you all have a business together. Can you talk to us about this business?
Yes. So we have a company. It's called Empowered with an I and two D's, which is kind of a play off of our name, our last name Reddish.
Okay.
Yes. And what our company does is we help families navigate sport and educational systems to help them meet their goals. So we actually help families establish their goals and meet them around sport and education using our backgrounds. Both Bob and I have extensive backgrounds in education and working with youth, but also with the background around basketball. We spent a lot of time working with our AAU program, and because Cameron was fortunate enough to be highly ranked, we had a lot of access and information that was given to us that many families just won't have the opportunity to have.
Favor.
So we thought we would pay it forward to other families. And so we established this company, Empowered, back in 2018 when Cameron was still in high school,
Okay.
with the anticipation that we would transition into whatever city we were going to go into and build the business from there. So now we work with families all around the country. From
Awesome.
fifth grade
I love it.
all the way up through the pros, helping them with those transitions. Our goal was to answer a problem that we had. We didn't have any place to go to answer questions around the transition from amateur to professional sports, or even what do we do if we want to try to get our child recruited and all those kinds of things. So because we had the opportunity to learn it, now we thought we'd go back and teach it to others.
And pay it forward.
Absolutely.
And how has it been going?
It's been going well. It's been going well. It's a blessing. It's literally
absolutely.
literally like ministry for us.
Yeah,
Being
I love
able
it.
to pour into families, because we know we're adding light to an otherwise gray, scary, cloudy situation because we lived it. So parents that we talk to, because we really target the parents, because we really saw ourselves as the ones who had the ability to make change, rather than letting someone else drive the ship. We try to position families so that parents are fully aware and have all the resources they need to position their children to meet their goals.
Okay,
We've
I
been
love
really
this.
successful
So
at that.
tell me, the platform, how do you do it? Through one-on-one coaching? Is it So I do it through one-on-one coaching?
So yes, we do it in a variety of ways. We do three things. We do presentations, which we call pep talks, parents empowering parent talks. And those happen at schools, tournaments, any type of program. Companies can bring us in, basketball programs, any sport program. It's not just basketball. We found that a lot of the information that we're teaching is generalizable and goes across sport. So we go in and we do these group presentations.
You do group presentations.
We do group presentations, pep talks. And then from those, we get individual families that we work with. Because everyone's story and journey is different. Just like Cameron and Aaron are on different journeys, so too is that the case for other families. So we have to look specifically at your child, where he or she is in their sport, and then we establish goals.
Yeah, I love this.
Literally make a plan. We call them individualized student athlete plans, almost like an IEP, like an individualized education plan if you're in the school system. And we then help them navigate that process on the education side as well as their sports side.
Wow.
So it's really involved. So we do that, and then the final thing we do is we connect the families to the resources in their communities that are going to help them meet those goals that we established and those ISAFs.
So you really do help families to win.
We absolutely help them to win. It's
win.
all about winning.
It's all about winning.
It's all about the win.
We got to get the W, right?
We got to get the W. Yes, absolutely.
It's not over until we get the W.
Absolutely. Yes, yes.
But no, it sounds like an amazing program. I love what you guys are doing, especially because it's centered around goal setting. I believe you cannot be successful without goals.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know any successful person who is successful today without having goals. And so goals is the vehicle. I always say goals is the vehicle to success.
Absolutely.
I like to say it's the Bentley to success.
Oh, yes, we'll take a Bentley. Oh, we'll take a Bentley.
Take you right there in style. So you got to have some goals in there.
Yes.
Okay, that is so great. So with my last question, what would you say to mothers today, who are pursuing their goals, who have sons, they have goals as well, and maybe they find it a challenge how to help their child to pursue their goals while they are pursuing their own individual goals as well. What would you say to these mothers as they're helping their sons with their goals?
Okay. So moms, we talk.
Okay.
I talk all the time to moms, spend a lot of time talking to moms.
This is good, okay.
We need to remember ourselves. Don't forget about your own goals. As we're trying to help our children achieve their goals, don't forget about you. That was one of the reasons why we really focused on the business, and we grew that and started thinking about that along the way. Because as an educator, a lifelong educator, I did not want to give up my passion either. I love to teach and empower and things like that. So this gives me an opportunity to continue doing that. So don't forget about you.
Okay.
That's number one. Don't forget about yourself.
And I just want to stop you right there, because a lot of special guests I bring on my show, that's one of the number one things they talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
Self-care is so important, especially if you're a high goal achiever.
Yeah.
You think about the next goal, and so you tend to forget about yourself. But it's like when you're on the airplane, you got to put your mask on first before you can put the mask on your neighbor. And so it's so important that we do the self-care. So mothers, I hope you are taking notes, because it is so important for you to do the self-care and make sure that you are at top speed so that you can help your sons with their goals. And so that is so important. So what else would you say?
Yes. So the other thing I will say is, as we're helping our children achieve their goals, one of the things as an educator I learned later in my career that I wish I had learned earlier when my children were young was about growth mindset. Having a growth mindset. Dr. Carol Dweck does some work around this topic, in which we train our thinking so that we're not focused on specific achievements, but more our effort toward them, so that we are more likely to be open to challenges, because we realize they make us better, that we learn more from the challenge or the failure than we actually do from the success. I think a lot of times we as parents, we want our children to do well, so we're constantly, congratulating them and promoting them to do specific things well. But I think it's more important if they can learn to work really hard. If they work really hard, they can continue to improve to get to whatever level they want to get to. So really instilling a growth mindset is really important as well. And you can set goals around that.
Oh, absolutely.
Make that the goal, not the specific task, not necessarily getting the A, but actually doing your best. Because if you did your best, if it's an A or a B, as long as I know you gave your
your
all,
best.
yeah, and you train your children then not to give up when it gets hard.
That's good.
Because they're used to working and they're used to understanding like, oh, but if I just keep doing this, if I keep repeating it, if I work harder, if I try another avenue, I can actually meet the goal. So I would definitely say that's another thing to do. So remember you and remember your baby, helping them to grow in their mindset. Having a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset is really important.
Okay, now I'm gonna throw you a little curveball here.
Ooh.
But you're down for it.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, okay, here, I know, because I know you personally, how has your faith been incorporated with you all achieving your goals? Because you're a woman of faith, your family is a family of faith. I'm a person of faith, and so I believe in our faith takes us to where we need to be. So how have your goals, your faith influenced you where it came to your goals as a family?
Let me tell you something. I'm so glad you asked the
60
question. Okay, I'm so glad you asked the question. Faith is everything.
It is.
Because along the journey, there are so many ways you're going to get pulled up, down. Sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely where we had to go and where we have to go in order to continue to aspire toward our goals. We have to believe God. And what we have done, we've always been very prayerful about every decision, every situation. And when things aren't looking the way we thought they would look, we remind ourselves, okay, God, this is all you. We have to believe that your word can't come back void.
That all
so
things gonna work together
it's got to
for
work
good. It
together
gotta
for
work
our
together for
good.
good.
So I don't get this, but I know you do. So we just continue
good.
to lean on our faith. And as Cam has tattooed on his arm, I was surprised about the to God be the glory. He gives all the glory to God for everything that he has done. So yes, with the surprise tattoo. Yes.
So it's tattooed on his arm, huh?
It is.
Okay.
It is. Yes.
But that's a good tattoo.
It's a good tattoo.
It's a good tattoo to keep you focused.
Yes. Yes.
So this was great. Thank you so much for the conversation. This was great. I mean, you gave a lot of goal setting nuggets, practical things that the mothers that are watching, that they can definitely utilize it to help them, to help their sons to pursue their goals. And so one more last time, how can people get in contact with you, your husband, and the business? Oh, great. I'm glad you asked. We can be reached, it's empowered with an I and two Ds. So it starts with an I, IMPOWEREDD.com. And if you contact us, our first consultation is absolutely free. We will have conversation with you and figure out what it is that you need to do, so we look to guide your next steps in your in pursuit of your goals in academics and in athletics. So you say it's free. It's free. That so now it's not the first consultation is absolutely free. That's the thing. There should be no reason why no one shouldn't contact you. Yes, yes, yes. You just go to the website and you can get a free consultation. So awesome, absolutely, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Zanthia. This was an amazing conversation, and best wishes to you, your family, as they continue on with their goals. Thank you so much for being a part of my show. Oh, thank you. So glad to be here. Appreciate it. Well, everyone, you know how we always love to end my show. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is your host, Wanda Martin. Hey, be safe, be great, and be 8 all day. Hey, God bless.